People are waiting.
Oh, yeah, they are. Gosh, so many. Oh, that's good. Excuse me. I spelled nerds with a big E, and it should be a little E. I apologize.
What the hell's wrong with your OBS, Sneak?
I don't know. What's it saying?
You have no background.
What? Oh, this?
You're on green. You're on green screen right now.
My OBS is being used to broadcast this, so I can't. This is the camera through OBS, so I'm on the screen with you guys and not like on top of the screen.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I didn't realize we're in high production studio here. Sorry.
This is how it's always been. I don't understand.
I didn't think so.
Oh yeah, go back and read. I mean, watch the streams.
Watch the VODs. Don't you watch the VODs every week?
Yeah, don't you every week watch the VODs? Is this episode? This is episode 15.
Holy moly, guacamole!
15.
That's a lot.
I think it is 15. This is episode 15 right now.
Damn.
Let's see.
And we still got another, what, 30 to go?
1,000.
50?
30,000. No, I'm so sorry. This is episode 16.
Wow.
16. I do want to say that we missed we missed Modus last week.
Yes. I'm sorry.
It was very
yeah.
sad. It was horrible.
You know, like
Right.
we missed you is what I'm saying, and I was hoping that maybe you could tell us a little bit of like just a few things about last week's reading, maybe that if you remember.
Catch us up.
If not,
What were your favorite parts?
Yeah, I think last week's reading was. There's a lot of pieces that we have to set up, right? There's a lot of stage to put together. Some of it's weird as fuck because it's Stephen King.
Say that twice.
Some of it's weird as fuck because it's Stephen King.
I like
some
that.
of it. Some of it's what's the other book? The Island.
Eyes of the
I was
Dragon.
getting-
Yeah, Eyes of the Dragon.
Yeah, I'm getting some of that vibe. So I thought that was cool. So
For those of you who haven't like read that, it's almost like a fairy tale that you would catch in Roland's world, as if it was like a fairy tale from his childhood. It's a kind of a very short book, and I believe he wrote it sometime around this point, maybe a little before, maybe a little after, but it's sometime around the same point in his career. So I didn't ever really put the two together. I don't know. Like there's there's a lot of overlap. I don't really want to get too much into it in case you guys are going to actually read it, but it is in relation to a character we've heard referenced a few times. It's in relation to Arthur Eld, and I liked how you rubbed your nipples.
fuck yeah.
With
Am
the-
I still
with
like
the earbuds.
really small for everyone, or now that I'm my landscape?
No, you are
like,
perfect
did
right now.
everyone-
You look like a
Yeah.
regular boy.
Yeah, that
Wow.
You are exactly
I'm a
what we
real
need
boy.
to put us over the top. Yes.
You know, 16 in.
Nice.
Finally got it figured out.
Perfect. We have probably 26 or 36 more to go before we're finished, so we'll see what else changes between now and then. But the last part definitely was kind of a new beginning for us. It's a big jump off. We met Susan, we met Will Dearborn, we met Rhea of the Coos, kind of a little bit of like a glimpse into like what's happening in their world, and we jump right into this next part, pretty much like immediately after. Trying to find the right page here. Long after Moonset, page 209 for those of you with the same copy as me. Will Dearborn makes his way back to camp, and he meets his compadres, a Mr. Arthur Heath, and I forget the other guy's name. Was it? Because it's such a weird name.
Yeah.
As we continue, of course, we realize that Mr. Will Dearborn is actually a one Roland Deshane.
Whenever it came through that part, I was like, "Holy shit! I knew it."
Yeah, and we also kind of get some background here about what's actually happening. They are being sent to this particular part of the country in order to count for the affiliation, and they're given fake identities, and they're giving fake background stories, and they are given the story is they were young and dumb and ended up hurting and inevitably having to kill a horse because of their horseplay. So they're being sent here and given an errand as punishment. I do like where Cuthbert, one of my favorite characters, go figure, he has a rook skull on his saddle. And as Roland is approaching camp that night, it is hung from the tree, and Cuthbert keeps calling him the Lookout, which I guess in some of the other stories we've also heard how Eddie is being compared to Cuthbert quite a bit. Probably why I like him so much.
Damn, they're identical.
They are supposed to be visiting a place called Magis, specifically Hambry. Counting horses. They are a fishing and horse village. But Roland can't seem to get Susan out of his mind. And of course, vice versa. Susan, when she arrives home, has a confrontation with her Aunt Cordelia, who kind of has a little bit of an inkling something's going on. I don't know how she knows, but she kind of has almost like a sixth sense there.
He's always suspicious of her.
Yes, they have a fight. Over who can hold the paper that just came from Rhea. And you can kind of get the idea, like Susan is standing up for herself here, if not for the first time, one of the first few times for sure. They have it out. Cordelia likes to throw the fact that her father's not around in her face, and they definitely have been butting heads for a while. Susan goes to bed, gives her bean a flick, and has a good night. The next day is supposed to be when the boys come in and meet the people in town, but as the night grows on and on, we kind of get a look at another character by the name of Eldred Jonas. He is hanging out in the bar way past closing time, playing a hand of solitaire, or what they call solitaire. I think it's... What do they call it?
I just read this through this part, and she fucking know. I don't remember what it was called now. I don't have the physical copy in front of me anymore. Well, not physical, but the digital in writing version.
I think it's in subchapter 3, isn't it?
Somewhere.
Public room of the Traveler's Rest.
Yep.
All right.
But he's playing a game, and it's called something.
Watch Me.
Watch Me is what they play together. He's playing by himself.
Combatants for current.
Patience. Haha. They called it Patience. A game of patience. Which to me sounds a lot like Solitaire because it says black on red on black, the partially formed square o' court above all. You know, sounds a lot like solitaire to me. As he's playing the game, one of his compadres comes down, a Mr. Reynolds, and they mention a third party named Roy DePape. They are definitely up to something. They're worried about the boys rolling into town, and they want to keep an eye on him. There's a lot of stuff mentioned here where I think it's almost casually, but they talk about tankers. They talk about the oil patch. They talk about the Thinny. They talk about Sitco. There's a bunch of like little things being dropped here and there. And it also kind of sounds like the High Sheriff is in on it too. Really important here at the end, Jonas mentions that he's going to be asking questions at the mayor's house when they finally do their big meet and greet. He says that a lot of people will ask questions of the jolly fat guy, but that he finds that to be second chair to I forget exactly how he put it, but he says, as for myself, Clay, I find that a woman's best, and the narrower the better, one with more nose than tits sticking off her. I can look for one who don't paint her lips and keeps her hair screwed back against her head. And he mentions Cordelia by name. He said, here's a fact of human nature I've found. Folk are more apt to talk to someone like her who plays them close than they are to the local jolly types who will buy you a drink. I'm going to slip in next to her at that dinner. I'm going to compliment on her perfume I doubt like hell she'll be wearing, and I'm going to keep her wine glass full. Now, how's that sound for a plan? So he openly says, like, he's setting himself up so he can get some secrets. He's looking for secrets. He tells Mr. Reynolds and Mr. DePape that they're going to be out at Sitco covering the tankers. He doesn't want the tankers seen. The next chapter is going to be right when we walk into town. Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine rode their mounts beneath an adobe arch with the words "Come in peace" inscribed above it. They are now in Hambry, and they are supposed to go to the mayor's house for dinner. However, the first thing they do is show up to the sheriff's office, present their papers, and have a conversation with the sheriff. Couple of the guys in there, a couple of deputies in there with him. They are complimented on their delicious tea as well as the presence of ice, which to them is
commodity.
kind of a almost like a fancy, very well-to-do kind of thing. And they're, I don't know if it's just the locals being suspicious, but they end up having to explain themselves, like, oh yeah, well, you'd think out here in the middle of nowhere we wouldn't have any ice, would you? Well, guess what? Like, we have blah blah blah, and they talk about they've got a couple of working refrigerators, so they've been able to
have a lot more ice. They said that they had ice around one of the festivals every year.
Yep.
But which made me think of like snow cones. But
yeah.
Whenever they first got in, one person knelt at their feet, as like I think that might have been like an old custom maybe. But then one of the guy got chastised and was like, "Think they're gonna think that we're back hills."
Well, there is kind of
Inbred.
a double thing going on here where one person is assuming the other person is thinking that they are like a backwoods hillbilly bumpkin, and they're kind of having an exchange where they're both kind of towing around it, kind of toying with the idea, but not really like fully committing to saying anything rude, of course. William Dearborn, Richard Stockworth, Arthur Heath. They're given the papers. Sheriff Avery, Deputy Dave. There is a mention of Ooh, yeah. There is a mention of one of the deputies with a monocle. I forget his name. That might be Deputy Dave. Yep. That's his wife is the one who made the tea. There's a gas-fired refrigerator and stove in the town gathering hall. That's what he said. Both plenty. There's plenty of earth gas out at Sitco. That's the oil patch east of town. You passed it on your way in, I what?
Hey, Sneak,
what
you
do
know
you
on
say,
that
Modus?
stove? I was gonna say on that stove. I had a thought on that stove.
Go on.
He also said that it was more like a novelty and no one really uses it anymore.
Right.
It just got me thinking, like, well, then how are they cooking? Like, if they're not using a stove,
They're
what are
probably,
they doing?
They're probably just cooking over
There's
fire.
still fire.
Yeah.
Just fire. It's probably
Maybe
easier
like-
just to
like-
mass do it.
Yeah, big like hearth style.
Or like
that's,
wood stoves.
That's what I imagine. I believe that the proper imagery for this type of town would be like a smallish Mexican town.
Yeah, because it has adobe houses.
Yeah, and you've got like they're right on what they call the crescent, so they're part of a coastline. So they're going to be right on the sea, but also they have huge patches of land. So they kind of have two separate classes where they have like the fishermen, then they have like the ranchers. At the dinner, a lot of stuff went down. At the dinner itself, Roland.
Susan, right.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Roland
Go ahead.
sees Susan again. After obviously meeting the important people and having the important conversations and the introductions happen, and Roland kind of sees her, but she asked him the last time to make it the first time. If it just pretend like we've never met and it'd be the first time. But what happens is before he gets a chance to actually like speak to her, he hears the agreement that she made, the reason why she was visiting Rhea, the reason why she was out that night, she even was there for him to meet on the road, is because of this agreement that she made to be, in all intents and purposes, she's going to be a concubine.
Yep, an incubator, basically.
But everyone kind of knows in reality that even though it's technically part of the old law, the man doesn't have an heir because his wife couldn't produce one. So her job really is to just provide him with an heir. There's no marriage. There's no ties. Of course, like she's having the guy's child, but there was no other binding agreement beyond that. Roland, however, deals with it, or should we call him Will? Maybe we should call him Will and keep his
For
identity.
now.
Will loses his goddamn mind. I think there's a spot where he even says he wants to put a bullet in her head.
He got really he turned on a dime on when he realized what was going on,
Yes.
or what he thought was going on.
Exactly.
It's kind of surprising.
Because he
Sounded
was
bit-
he was in the complete different direction. He was like, "Oh my god, I want to just touch her. I just want to feel her. I want to kiss her." And then so he
he's
heard
like,
somebody
"Fuck that
say,
bitch."
Yeah. Well,
"She's a snake."
he finds out exactly what's going on, and there's no lie there. That is what's going on. There's no deception on
It's
that
blatantly
part
obvious.
of it. But he's very upset with her, and as he's kind of like having dinner and he's meeting the people and he's putting two and two together, not only does he notice that the mayor's wife is sat at the foot of the table, but he also notices that like she is just absolutely just destroyed by this.
That was the biggest part, and I think that's what changed Roland's thoughts.
I think a lot of that
situation.
definitely has to do with why he
And it
reacted the way he
wasn't
did.
quite willing, like he originally thought it was. Oh, she's just,
Yeah. They end up having a
He even talked about putting her at the head of another table, not the foot of the
yes.
table.
They end up having a kind of meet, kind of like shake your hand, howdy do, and then dinner commenced. But Cordelia, little snake lady that she is, notices something. She notices something, and grabs her, hurts her, pulls her aside, tells her like, "Don't you fucking dare," like.
They're already in.
I can see what's happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's like, money's already exchanged hands. Deals have already been struck. I literally just got finished with that.
Exactly.
Right
No,
before we
yeah,
started.
that's exactly it.
So she's like, you made an agreement. This is the contract you got to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
And then she throws her dad in there
Exactly.
Yes.
to seal the deal.
Yep.
Messed up.
He's still got some use to her in death.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the way that it sounds is that she hated him.
Yes.
There definitely seems to be some animosity between them. What happens next is one of the biggest ranchers is seated next to Will, and they start discussing horses. And some numbers are thrown around. Will seems very confused. He asks them to give him a specific number. He kind of waffles.
Yeah, but I think the thing about it is Roland or Will was keeping track in his young, astute mind. And whenever he shot the number back at him of what he had figured, he's like, no, it's more than that.
Yeah, but he kind of like played it off as in like, first of all, he's acting more drunk than he is, and he kind of played it off as like, oh well, look at like look here, like if I give you a number, it's not going to come back and haunt me. It's not going to make it a problem if I said something wrong because we're regular people and we need our horses because we have working men just like anybody else, and we don't want to give the affiliation all of our horses and blah 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 blah. But the real thing is, I don't want to tell you the number.
But I'm an affiliate, man.
Right. That's
like
when
the town thinks that these kids are here to take all their shit.
Yeah.
Coming here to claim.
I mean, they're from the affiliation and they're here to count all your stuff. So there's definitely
they assume because their fathers are high up people that the boys themselves are like when you think of like jackasses that have like mommy and daddy money. That's what I think they are assuming. That's what I'm getting. They don't actually
like they're spoiled ass kids.
Yes.
Little rich bitches. That's what the sheriff thinks of them. That they're just little rich bitches who are being, punished or whatever by being sent out to nowhere. And they're kind of insulted almost because their town is thought of as just a nowhere nothing. So they're kind of treating them like at face value. They're giving them every courtesy, but you can tell like with the conversations you hear
like
behind them. Yes,
everything has a backhand with it.
There's a lot. Well, speaking of backhand, right after they had that exchange about the horses, that's when Will learns about Susan being the mayor's Jilly. And that's when it says that he would put a bullet in her head right then and there.
That was a little heavy.
She laughed.
A little bit. Well.
And he thought that had he been wearing his guns, he might well have drawn one and put a bullet in Susan Delgado's cold and whoring little heart.
Oh my goodness.
But like, think about it also. Like, how old is Will Dearborn supposed to be?
I think he's 15.
15.
Yeah, 15.
And like,
very wild emotions.
Even though he went and had himself a woman after he won his guns, he's still closer to a child than a man. And even though he's now considered a gunslinger, he has to be here as just a reprimanded son. And
speaking of being a child and not a man, the ordeal of the soft punch versus the hard punch, which then made the people around the punch bowls realize that even they're treating them and seeing them really as higher up than they really were. They're just still children, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like, that was part of their punishment. The reason why they were there is because they had gotten drunk and stole a horse, and then the horse broke its leg, and they had to kill it. And like in order to teach them a lesson, their fathers decided to send them out here and do this like job. And it's like 500 wheels away. They say like it's a long distance. It's a large distance. Like they're coming from in-world to mid-world. After that is a little dance that the minstrels can kind of, it's like a circle of dudes and a circle of ladies, and they mix in the middle. and they stop
thought
the
of-
music in order to pair up a dude and a lady, and then they would have to do a little dance in the middle of everybody, and then they back out and start the music again. And the minstrels are smart enough to make it fun because they put like tall guy, short woman, skinny guy, fat woman. They've got a sense of humor about it. However, Roland, of course, hears the music stop. Will Dearborn hears the music stop, and guess who is next to him? But Susan Delgado. She asks him. She says, "Thank you for your discretion and your propriety." His reply is, "I can be discreet, Si. As for propriety, I'm amazed you even know the word."
Oh,
Dude.
he was big mad.
She asks, "Why do you speak so?" But at that point, the music stopped, and they had to go back to their respective places. Now, as we get to the end of our reading section, the last paragraph says, "Laughing, kicking, clapping on the beat, feeling her somewhere behind him doing the same, wondering if she wanted as badly as he did to be out of here, to be in the dark, to be alone in the dark, where he could put his false face aside before the real one beneath could grow hot enough to set it afire." He's very upset. Very upset indeed, because he learned something that,
And took it the wrong way.
I mean, or did he? I think he took it the way he had to take it.
I think he's been saying all along to himself, what is done can be undone. And I think that's important here too, because he's kind of forgot that for a moment. But I also think his rage about Martin and his mother might somehow be affecting this, because he was really focused on the mayor's wife at the end of that table, who wasn't in the conversations and that, who was left out of
Yes.
everything. And I think he was kind of transferring how his father felt about how he knew about the affair and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which he was ready to
Maybe-
go kill Martin anyways.
Yes, and that's actually
Yeah,
partially the reason why he was sent away.
he was sent out because he knew Martin would kill him,
Yes,
and he,
And
wanted
he
to keep
wasn't
him alive.
supposed to see him for a long
exactly.
time.
Given enough time and tide, like Martin would definitely have found a different way to attack him. Besides
Yeah.
just the way he was doing it the first time, which was revealing the affair and revealing the fact that like his mother is a willing participant.
Yeah, so I think he's got some really raw emotion there, and we'll find out, because this was a 15-year-old kid who went to sleep thinking about Susan till all of a sudden now is done with her. I think he's just raging through the moment.
Which
I think
in his
keeping in
young
mind his age
mind-
is
Yeah, it's a big thing.
yeah.
with his young mind, he might have already put himself in a position to think of himself as his dad and Susan as his mother. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he doesn't like being made to feel stupid either. Like, I think what it was is he genuinely liked her, even though he'd only met her the one time,
Right.
and felt like he had somehow been like misled, or you know what I mean.
He
And
felt there was a
and
connection.
Well, but
most
well, also
people
yeah.
just don't like being made to feel being made fun of. Maybe
Exactly.
that's it.
But also there's a part where he was looking at her from across the room and he recognized the same kind of energy that he's feeling on her as well. Like she was presenting the same way.
That's what got Susan in trouble with Cordelia.
Right. That's why old Aunt Cord, that's how she
Sure.
hurt her
Cord
little
and
hand
Cord.
and told her you straighten up and fly right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like some characters we're reading about, we're not quite sure what they're all about, what their angle is. And Cord, we know who she is.
Yeah.
She wants that land, that status. She wants to be with those people.
There's no
There's no
details
love in
quite
our
yet,
minds.
but you do know that her brother died and she inherited his daughter.
Yeah, and she saw his
Unfortunately.
daughter, saw Susan as nothing more than just useless. And then when she found out Susan could be useful by using her body to fulfill, deal with the mayor to get their property, then she was finally worth something. But I feel like Aunt Cordelia is just having
what?
a hard spot for what is it? Most of the time, people want sons, to pass things down to, especially
Sure, yeah.
old school rules. And she called her useless when she said that, why my brother only is able to give us have this useless girl, instead of somebody to hand it down to. That's why they didn't inherit the property either, probably, when he died.
Yeah.
Susan is
That's why
livestock.
she's-
That's how I
Yes.
see her. I mean,
That's
I
how
don't see
that's
her
how
like
Cord sees her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Susan's sort of seen she sees the silver lining of this situation. Yeah, it's gonna be unfortunate. She's gonna have to bear an heir, but as soon as that
Well, and
happens, she's
to
assuming she's
another-
gonna be done. She's assuming that once she does bear one, she'll be able to go off and marry and all this and that.
Well, I don't think Susan's thought past Reap Night up until this point. I think that is like a fixed point in time for her, and I think that after that, maybe
That was before she met Will.
she's got something else planned to do beyond that. But here we are at the end of our chapter reading, and Roland is definitely
Heartbroken.
he's feeling some kind of way.
A little bit.
That's him in the corner.
What does this tell us so far that our quartet needs to know? Eddie and Susanna and Jake. Because this is the story he needs to tell.
Well, he is telling.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of lesson here yet? Are we learning anything we haven't known
I think
before?
not yet. I think
Not
not yet.
I think that
Like,
we're
not
we're
there yet.
seeing
We're
bits
setting
and
up
pieces.
the stage. Setting the stage.
See, the Roland we've seen so far, he's slow, pretty methodical. He's calm. But
Wise
we
and blue
see,
age.
we see this young whippersnapper, Will,
Oh,
and
that's good.
he's very quick with any emotion, and he's very quick to spin around too.
I think it also like gives depth to his character that you didn't have.
It did, and it also
I
shows
think
you
it's trying to... Oh, go ahead.
it also shows you the formal side of
Yeah.
Roland.
Well, I think it shows Roland being able to be like he used to have emotions more than he did when they first met him, and he used to have attachments and used to have, be a little more, I don't
Human?
know, yes, and less
I think-
careful about things, than he is now. Now he's very calculative, very thoughtful, very there we go, methodical. That's the word I'm looking for. I think so far the only thing as a lesson is just setting up that he hasn't always been the way that they know him now.
Yeah, I think the Roland we know is probably about 20 years from this story, maybe 10. But anyways, we're also going to find out why he's
10?
alone.
I thought it was
thinking
like 30.
or 40.
Oh well, yeah, time in the books, but I'm just thinking he's 15 in this story, and I don't know if I'd give him 40 or 50 or anything like that. I
Really?
think that's a bit high.
I think I'd give him 60, 70.
I was gonna
Oh
say,
wow,
think
I
he's
never
hella
even thought that
old.
at all.
I think he's like.
I would
remember,
give
their
him-
age does work different there too. I think he's comparatively hella old.
The way he has fought in New York and the way he fought in that town, and then
Oh,
I
how he's
think
quick.
Well, he's
I
of
think
the
he's
line of
handled
Eld.
himself maybe in 40s.
I was gonna say his age might not work the same as like normal people
That's
either.
true.
Think of it like Evan just kind of said. It makes me think of like Aragon from like Lord of the Rings. The way that he ages differently. The age that he actually is. He doesn't.
Yeah, he was like 300 in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Well, he was a special race.
Well, that's
Right.
what I mean. That's what Roland is too.
I've always got that vibe that like he
Okay.
is from a different time,
Gunslingers are of a different
and that
breed.
there's been like
It's like the fountain
Ages.
of youth is in. Where is he from?
Gilead.
The river crossing folks,
Yeah.
though, they were over 100.
Yep.
Like you can go.
But they weren't of the
That's
line
right.
of the Eld.
And
Yeah,
they were
plus
pretty
he was from-
dilapidated.
From literally a different world.
And
technically,
Roland's
when
been world traveling.
So
Mhm.
he's crossing all kinds of time.
So I see the evidence that he could be upwards of 100 because I know he was asleep for what plus 50 years maybe
Yeah, there was that
with
point
the
in time.
gunslinger.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
also
10
have some
years.
examples that the world has moved on since from the story we're hearing now to where they're at, just based on
Exactly.
just
And
different
like
references.
those people in
I
River
think there's
Crossing
been
could
hints.
seen hints.
I think there's been hints to the world starting to move on, moving
Yeah, I
away
feel
from
like
the
the
old.
world- Mm-hmm. So
Especially
like the
with
way that
this.
they talk about gas. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the ice, the deal with the ice. Like you would never see that now, like or as easily now, versus when he was younger too. So it's like he's like on the cusp of before. He's seen the before and he's seen the after now.
And they
So,
mentioned the
he's-
paper too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
paper
Paper
being.
was starting to become.
Well, they
harder
even
to
mentioned
find.
like that the paper that they do have is more cloth than paper.
Yeah, so it was like in that transition between fully abundant to changing and trying to make amends to our Roland's
Things
world
were
now where shit doesn't
dwindling.
happen. Yeah,
They
It was
were on
starting
the
to fall
last
apart.
end of last leg of things
yeah.
already.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Well, so there's
Roland
also
became a
someone.
gunslinger and the world started to break.
There's someone else who we've read about a couple times now. We haven't really had a chance to discuss, but his name is John Farson. They call him the Good Man. And they've mentioned him
Yeah.
as like a scary boogeyman. He's in the north and he's in the west, and he's like, there's gunslingers out fighting him, and like Roland's dad was mentioning him, and like, that's
It
their
confused me when he
big
called
fight.
them good men. They
Yeah,
hadn't found any good men yet, and then I realized they don't mean like
Good,
men. They,
right?
Like
John
like,
Farson's Good Men.
It's like a title.
Yes.
mhm.
We don't have a whole bunch of information about this guy, but he is kind of like who they're alluding to when they're saying things like, we're getting ready for, conflict, and we're counting all these things in this little like backwoods nowhere town because we're trying to find, what supplies we can call on and how the affiliation can depend on your village, and it's kind of like an undercurrent there where it's like there's no one said the word war. But
it's
there's
definitely
fighting.
war.
Mhm.
He said our forces are north and west.
Yes, in the north and
I
west.
thought the line was cool. He said it's glowing between every line.
Yeah.
The word war.
Yep.
I thought that was cool.
Almost like it's on fire. So there's more going on here as well. Like Roland as a young man versus Roland as an old man. And Steve, I don't know, like 40s, maybe that's what he looks like. Like it's possible that like Homeboy is just aged beyond his appearance, but I've always kind of thought of him as a much older
Benjamin
character.
Button.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
always try and when I read stories like this and I know how they're going, I always try and think of them in a linear sense, like timeline going across and where things fit in.
Right.
And I think the thinny that's in this town has a lot to do with what happens. But I think we're gonna hit a point here.
That was actually my next point. Was like we've noticed that the thinny is one of the things that is kind of happening in both worlds. You've got the thinny that they ran into after they started turnpiking in Topeka, and then obviously the thinny that they've alluded to here a couple times in
See,
the
that's what
Box
made
Canyon.
him think. That's what made him think of Susan.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what pulled
And that's where the
Susan
story's
back.
originally like, and the fact Eddie's kind of sick and tired of him fucking around, and he wants to know more. When the fuck you gonna tell us something?
in a very in a very Cuthbert kind of way.
And we also found out in the dinner, during the dinner conversation, that the boys were sent to look for the globe. But we don't know what that globe does that was given to the witch.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about it. But I
There
think
was a
we
line
will,
in there that they were sent to find the globe.
I think that we're gonna find out about it in Shimi. That's the next chapter. I haven't seen any of the other chapters, what they're called, but I have a feeling it'll be.
I'm actually very interested in seeing where they talk about the globe at dinner.
Well, I happen to bring my book down so I can help.
Ha!
Woo!
Good one, Steve. Appreciate the help.
Yeah. But the trouble is, the way I read, I don't know if I'll find it again.
Was it before or after he started talking about horses?
I can't even tell you that. I just know.
I know that there was a part where Jonas
The mayor's
was talking to DePape, and he mentions leaving the ball with the old woman.
Chapter
How
3 is
that
whenever
was
they're
his
talking.
idea. He was going through how they were hiding things. They were talking about covering up the tankers, and then he also mentions, and it was my idea for us to hide the ball with the old lady.
I find it interesting how Coral, the mayor's sister, is also just dropping all this information
Yeah.
while they're at the same dinner on these strangers who they already know
Yes.
we're not sure who these strangers are.
I really like the ball. I really like how mystical it feels. Like, it doesn't, there's a lot of things we can kind of tie back to some futuristic technology in Midworld.
Definitely.
But this glowing glass ball, I just like that.
I like the part about Susan's breasts, but I'm going to keep reading here.
Keep going. Skip over that one, Steve. I also like when they were discussing the horses, about how they're all being born mostly threaded, and there's very little muties.
Yeah.
1 in 5 these days born with extra legs or extra eyes or his guts on the outside, and that was good. But the birth rates were way down.
Which seems weird considering what they experienced in Lud. So, like I say, quit thinking linear, Steve, because it's not that.
Yep, this is definitely a before, like after court, but before the desert, and that gulf of time could be any number of years. I've actually got a couple of graphic novels that were fantastic graphic novels, but they're of kind of this time in Roland's life, a little bit before and a little bit after. If you'd like to, I can throw those up in the Discord. I think I have like PDFs, so I'll take a look and see.
The Dark Horse ones?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Throw them up.
They are very well done.
I'll be so glad when we're done this giant thick book and I have to look around. Like I said, I'm gonna rip it in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you don't
really
actually rip
feeling
it
the
in
heat.
half, Steve.
Trying to keep up, man. I really appreciate just the 2 chapters tonight, I will say. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at where we can hit next time, and it's looking like we can probably do the
Chapter
same
9.
thing. We can go 6 and stop at 9.
That's 3 chapters, but it's a little bit longer than
Well, it's-
this week's.
Yeah, it's about 100 pages again. I figure that's a pretty good chunk for us.
The next chapter after 9 is Bird and Bear and Hare and Fish.
Yes, so we're going to start with Shimi, and we're going to stop at Sitgo.
I have a question for every reader here.
Every reader.
Were you confused for a minute when shit, I lost his name.
Will Dearborn.
Miller?
When
Oh,
Will went back to his camp and he saw his people, gets off the horse, and then and Court said this. Did you think you were in some sort of flashback where you went, what the hell did I just miss? What happened?
It was a shock to you that Will Dearborn was Roland.
It was, but I had these feelings when Will was walking with Susan down the road and how but just for that one page where Will, like I said, gets back, and next thing he's in Roland's head and talking.
Yep, talking about Court and
I had the message sneak. Is Will Dearborn Roland?
I was like,
that's what I talked about last week. So that's what I talked about last week, because right whenever we ended reading, it was describing the horse that Roland was set out on.
Rusher.
And the description of the horse matched the description of Will's horse. So I was like, that's got to be him. But then you're like, oh, it's Will. Okay,
yes, well,
it's Will.
they mentioned there's a rider with a spear and a bow, and you kind of do get a good couple of
Rook's head.
images. Well, the Rook's head was on Cuthbert's horse.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was the first thing
The
that we had
lookout.
heard, and that was.
This guy, him, right there.
And he pecks at it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Light bulb. It is a fun time with you guys. I really enjoy reading through this one. I'm hoping we get through this. I don't know if it's going to be by the end of the month,
It's
but
not too much.
probably before Halloween. We should be done.
Chapter 9 is roughly halfway.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next, but I bet there's probably sexual tension, and I'm in.
I think there's a fight first.
There was already a bean flick. If you didn't miss that one.
Yeah, that's foreplay, bro. Come on.
Yep, she's
on both sides, but Roland doesn't. I mean, Will doesn't know that.
Definitely gonna have some fun with these next chapters. As of now, we've stayed in the flashback. We haven't gone back to like the real world yet. I believe that is coming up. Maybe not this next chapter, but the chapter after that, like, or not the next chapter, but this next reading or the reading after that. I think we're gonna come back into the real world.
I think it'll go back in bird and hare and cat and fish and all that other bullshit.
Bird and hare.
I'm also very happy that our 3 adventurers are not fooled by how the sheriff and his boys feel about them.
Definitely.
And everything like that. They've talked about, they've openly said, you know,
I do
don't
like
think these guys
how they've set that up. Like, they've got it to where the one side thinks like they're using their like prejudice and thinks that these are just like some dumbass kids, and then the dumbass kids are just as happy as shit to let them think that.
Oh, yep. All right, so
see, I felt it was kind of a game that went both ways. I felt like the sheriff kind of knew.
Yeah, well, the sheriff was also kind of doing an act.
That they are.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody has a face on, and Cuthbert's not going to hold his face very long.
It is a beautiful game that I think has been played.
Game of Castles?
Game of Castles, wow. They actually mentioned that.
Yeah,
they're playing a game of patience.
But they mentioned that, like, there's a part where, like, he's the narrator, like, thinks, you know, it was like a game of castles, but he hadn't been thinking about it like that at the time.
I think it's interesting how Court's dad had kicked what's-his-face out of town.
That's another thing, too. Eldridge Jonas has a tattoo right here of a coffin. His homeboys are also, like, the one guy, Clay Reynolds, has been working with him since he was, like, 15, it said. Jonas is a disgraced ex-gunslinger. There's another light bulb. And he was bested by Court's father and then broke his leg and then sent west, where it mentioned that he ended up finding a gun, of course, as most disgraced gunslingers do, but he didn't pass the test. He challenged his teacher before he was ready, and his teacher beat him and almost killed him, which is part of the test. But then he sends him west. There's also some ritualistic scarring. But Jonas has been...
he's been places, man.
Yeah, he's even mentioned, like, traveling through the worlds, through the doors. So there's another mention of traveling doors.
Hold up. I gotta mention it, because it shows up in every book at least once. The cult Manny is what he's talking about on page 230 of this book.
Yes.
They keep showing up.
The Manny. We shall hear more of the Manny, I'm sure.
Special doors.
Going through the book right now, and I'm trying to figure out how we can divide up the rest of the book.
I could never do that because I would see enough words that I would know what's happening.
Let's not divide up the rest of the book yet. Let's just keep a good eye on, like, where we are. And like I said, like, so some of it may be a little shorter or a little bit longer depending on, like, necessity of the story. But I think for the most part, keeping it around
2 chapters.
Yeah, keeping it around 100 pages will be our best bet.
9
to another 2-week break and
chapter 2,
200 pages.
Yeah, that's true.
And then to chapter 5.
And then we can just go to the end of the book on that one. This next one, part 3, we can probably read after this time. We'll do chapter 9 to part 3. Come reap. That's
The
not,
Cum Reap.
that's not too many pages there, about another 100. So, looking forward to moving on. We are well into Wizard and Glass, and I am still discovering things that I did not discover the first time as well. So,
Last thing I wanted to talk about, because these two chapters pulled it together where you went, I'm glad that I kept going after Wastelands.
yeah,
Because Wastelands, you thought, whatever, he's the character we know and he's headed towards the tower, and this is all about heading towards the tower.
yep.
But now this book that didn't even exist on my first read through is now pulling it all the way back around.
Yes.
And that I'm glad we're here.
Very
This
cool.
is where the filling's at.
Maybe not Ken, but I'm glad the rest of us.
I'm glad that you guys brought me along with you guys through this book series. So far, it's been really nice to read. It's been nice to like take time to talk with people about it. So I've been enjoying it. This book so far, by what I've read, is like my favorite out of all of them. There's some hard parts to read to get through, but it's got a lot of. I like to know more about Roland.
Well, let me just say like this: if these parts are hard,
Oh, I'm sure it gets worse. I know it gets worse. I'm
he's just
saying,
easing you in right now.
you remember, I've never really read more than like a couple of Stephen King's books, so I haven't really gotten into his really graphic stuff.
Yeah.
So like some of it was like, oh, okay.
Some
Now
of it
listen
I
to
can
horror
say like
stories
easily
that
he goes too far.
say shit worse than that. Matter of fact, I mentioned it. It was really cool. This week I was listening to a horror podcast, and the section was like this little kid reading not this book, their first book.
Yeah.
And they were reading about Roland getting by the lobstrosity.
That was the second book, but yes.
Second book, but still, it was. If it wasn't for you guys, I would have never gotten the reference. I
Nice.
totally was like, I nerded for a minute.
Right on.
I
But yes,
agree.
as a fair warning, if the entirety of Stephen King's work is a hot tub, you have dipped your foot in right now, and it is very
like it literally made me cringe.
Yeah,
And I was
I
like,
can get past more. It was just I
visceral.
hadn't seen that side
Yeah.
of Stephen King's stuff quite yet. Because like the girl who loves Tom Gordon isn't really that graphic when it comes to
No, you're right,
things
yeah.
at all. So
yeah, she's like
and
a
then even the
yeah.
Don't read
Tales of the
Gerald's
Night-
game.
Even Tales of the Night Shift wasn't that bad compared to
Gerald's game was pretty bad.
I
That
have
one's
not
bad.
read
So was
anything else
Rose
besides
Matter.
those.
If you haven't
I
had a
wanna
chance to read Rose Matter, that
That
one
was misery.
Lizzie's story. You guys read Lizzie's story? Yo, Lizzie's story is pretty much just about abuse and abusers.
What did you?
I said, how is misery?
Misery is actually really good.
Misery is
I've
more
only-
about like torture. It's a very torturous kind of thing.
So, I think that he goes so far, and he goes as deep as he goes
yeah,
to make you. It makes you revert back to like your primal instinct of fuck that person.
yeah.
Like
You're definitely
also,
they
feeling something.
disgust me.
Yeah. It
Hey, the
definitely
mi-
puts you through the motions to get the emotion instead of just showing, oh well, this is kind of like hinting at it. He just goes, no, this is it.
And that's also like part of his
Fair.
style too. Is like he's not gonna pull any punches. Like if you get into a car accident and it's in his story, he's going to describe how the bones snap and where your hair ends up and what bits of teeth are gonna like embed and where, and you know what I mean. Like he's going to give you play for play, blow for blow, every detail that he possibly can, because that's
But also,
what makes it human. That's what makes it to where like it's one.
it makes you
thing.
relate to your character because you experienced the shitty thing that the character went through, so you're able to relate, and it's like, oh well, this explains why this
Yeah.
happened.
And you were pretty
Or-
much there, and it happened to you because he explained
Yeah.
all those details.
Right.
Oh, something even as simple as when he talks about this, Jonas and his friends in the bar talking about the 15-year-old prostitute. You all go, whoa.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you get a picture of the times, the
Yep.
people, who they are, and what they'll do in terms of
What they'll do.
handling
Yeah.
any other situation. and you go, "Oh, I know who these
Or-
characters."
Morality is completely different. There's business, not so much morals. There's business.
Right.
I think
I
there's
think of like an old, almost like period town. I think of old village.
I
that
really
has
do
horses
picture like
everywhere
a
and,
village right out of Westworld,
like
where
it could definitely be like old western town.
like where what's his face always ended up going back to, and that guy's daughter was always there.
Tell you what, though, I think
Yeah.
I found our bad guy. You know, we have the Reimer dude who's pretty bad, but I think for our story,
You got Lingle, he's also pretty bad.
I see Jonas. I mean, he's just the one who he's got these connections.
He's a
You know,
snake. He's a
The talk
viper.
about other worlds, man. It's just like
That
I believe
definitely.
Jonas has a lot to do with why the gunslinger's alone.
There's also something else, and I'm not going to say whether it's like yes or no, but there's something else that's been mentioned that's completely out of place. And if you know what it is, shut up. But it's been like it was described in detail and like right in front of you, and it was one of the things that for me the first time through caught me completely off guard. I totally fucking didn't realize how like upfront that was from the beginning, and we'll get there, and then I'll point and laugh, haha, you didn't get it. But
actually you did say something about it earlier.
sure, as just a detail is part of the rest of the stuff. So if you caught that too, good job.
I think the two of you shared a message that was about.
It was Thieves' Can't.
Oh.
You didn't roll it.
You would
Y'all,
need a perception check for that one, I think.
I gotta go to bed. I am falling asleep.
Yeah, go to
here.
bed.
I can't-
P-Pops, it was
Yeah.
great to have you. We will catch you next
Bye,
time. Hopefully
P-Pops.
not so late next
Oh,
time.
P-Pops. P-Pops.
Oh yeah, check this
What?
out. What's that?
Oh, yay! She got a pair of earrings for me because I make stuff with resin,
Yeah,
and then she's got chicken earrings coming up soon.
nice.
I'm so
They should be there
excited.
like Tuesday.
Super sweet.
Okay.
Also, if you're
Thank
into
you.
like
Awesome.
those kinds of
Good
things,
night.
hit her up. She's
Here, I found it.
Making
I found
noise.
it.
Have a good one, P-Pops. Hit me, Steve.
It is page 215.
No.
Everyone, turn your pages to 215. Christopher.
It is
I'm working.
basically like 2 pages into Long After Moonset.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So give me a sub chapter.
215. Yep.
It goes. Was the tower what all of this was really about?
Sub chapter. It's actually still one.
the
It's
first.
chapter 1. So get to where he says, "I'm going to send you away," Stephen said. "There is no safe place left in Midworld, but the barony of Magus and the Clean Sea is as close to true safety as any place may be these days." If you're right around
That's-
there, you're right around the right area.
Yes. Yeah.
214.
The
Yeah.
first word of the paragraph. I'll send you away.
Okay, so in that area, Steve, where are you reading it?
We're gonna read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. And he
Okay, what does it start with?
was the tower.
Okay.
Because actually his father told him about the tower.
Oh, it's the next one.
And then he says, not a jumped-up harrier with dreams of ruling Midworld, not the wizard who had enchanted his mother, not the glass ball which Stephen and his posse... Stephen? Okay.
That's
Had
his
hoped
dad.
to find in Crescia. Yeah.
Had
Okay, so I
hoped to
read
find in Crescia.
in Crescia, but the Dark Tower. Okay,
In-
so that's the...
in
his dad was
Crescia.
looking for the... Yeah.
His dad was in search of it.
He was
but they
looking for it
found
in Crescia, though. Not in
Yeah,
Hambry.
exactly. So I
Not in
realized that
Magus.
my
Yes.
reading is only...
Yeah.
But it's on the radar.
Definitely. And it was...
Yes, because now we're already linking them back going, hey, we know where that glass
Yes.
ball is.
Thank you, Steve.
I love
I'm
the
actually really
balls.
glad that you pulled that one out of there. The glass ball is obviously important. It was very... Oh. Uh-oh. Modus, you okay, bud? You just, like,
Oh yeah, I'm okay.
face planted
The
with
glass
the
just
book.
ball is
had
on
a
the cover of the book if you're looking.
realization.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay, good. Next week we're gonna come back at it. Hopefully, I don't have to close on Friday, and we can do a Friday night again. We do have the next chapters set up. Anything from anybody else?
3 chapters this week.
I think 6, 7, and 8. But it is like right under 100 pages.
Sounds
Yep.
good.
Just a little bigger than what we had.
Alrighty. Well, then
Have a
everyone
lot of
say
fun
good
with
night,
this.
and we'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good time.
We'll see you next time.